Many people who watch The Big Bang Theory, when you came in, they were kind of like, why are they putting her in? You were upsetting the apple cart.
Sure, and I think also they were bringing me in, as the female version, was what I was told, of everybody's beloved favorite character, played by Jim Parsons, who's incredible. And people loved him so much the way he was. There was a huge risk that, A, do we need a female version of the person that we love who also was identified as very kind of like asexual and not interested in females? And there was a lot of sort of negative stuff from some of the super fans at first.
Were you nervous when you went into that show?
I had never seen it. I don't watch TV, so I had never seen The Big Bang Theory. I had heard about it because they mentioned me, like the real person, Mayim Bialik, but I thought it was a game show when someone said, oh, they mentioned you on Big Bang Theory. So I had never seen it. I didn't know who Jim Parsons was.
I would think that somebody in the field that you're in show business and acting, would need to watch television and would want to watch the show before they auditioned or whatever.
Well, so, I was on a TV show when I was 14 to 19. Blossom. And then I actually took 12 years off.
Backtrack for a second. Your parents were very conservative type people.
They're it was always the 1940s my whole life.
Right. And so you're home and you're living there and you are in some school plays. And how do you get in a Bette Midler film?
So I wasn't a hammy kid, but I was I was an unusual kid. I was one of those like, oh, she's an old soul. There's something weird about this kid.
Right. In other words, you were a little kid who really knew how to handle herself on stage.
Yeah, but again, that comes from more the house that I grew up in. There was a tremendous amount of emotional and psychiatric stuff floating around in my family. So I was a manager of emotions. And what my parents did is they literally, my mom said, I'll open the yellow pages. We'll see if there's a kid's agent that wants to handle you. Literally, they wrote a letter on a typewriter because that's what people used in the mid 80s. And this agent picked me up. She was actually Neil Patrick Harris's agent. She was
she saw you.
She was Johnny Galecki's agent, and she just said, like, there's something about this kid. She looks like Bette Midler and Barbara Streisand. She's a weird little, I was all features, I was like 11 years old and just nose and chin.
And that was a pretty successful movie called Beaches.
Right, that was a year after I started acting.
And Beaches, you go in and you're working with the legendary Bette Midler. You're
playing a small version of her, yes.
Right, you're playing the young version of Bette Midler.
But I didn't realize I'd get my own TV show when that came out, and that's literally what happened. It felt very surprising to me what was happening in my life.
And when you're that young, you don't realize how lucky you are in terms of this.
Well, like I said, my grandparents were immigrants from Eastern Europe, so anything but the Holocaust was lucky.
When you got Blossom, or even the Bette Midler movie, it suddenly changed everyone's perception of you. You became the popular kid.
No, I became the unpopular kid.
Is that really true?
I was never popular-ish in the first place. Yeah, like I said, I was a weird kid. I was always strange. I was never ever. You're the only person who's ever called me normal. No, when I became sort of a famous person, I went to very academically rigorous programs, and all that was emphasized was academics.
Are you super intelligent? Have you ever had your IQ measured?
I was in all those special nerd programs.
When you go to UCLA, is everyone looking at you like, hey, there's Blossom?
I walked off of your television, into the quad, and I was a super nerd. I studied all the time, and, people would yell at me across the quad, like, hey, Blossom, But I just, I kept my head down. I sat in the front row. I think also, anytime you go to a large university like that, you're not the smartest person. And my parents always told me I was the best, I was the smartest. That's not true. And at UCLA, I was at the bottom of my class. I had to struggle to get B minuses in organic chemistry. Yeah.
And when you go to college and you're growing up and you want to experiment with boys and all that kind of stuff, are you then nervous that the guys want to bang you because you're Blossom?
I'm still nervous about that. Sure.
Why, after going to college, realizing that perhaps there was more to life than show business after Blossom?
Right.
Why did you go back?
I was running out of health insurance, so I figured if I can audition, if I can get SAG insurance, at least I'll have health insurance. But originally I wanted to be a research professor, and I had my first son, and I really fell in love with being with him and breastfeeding on demand. And I didn't expect that I'd so much want to be the full-time mom. So that was sort of a shift. I knew I wanted to finish my PhD, and I did, but I also knew I'd probably end up teaching. I taught for about 5 years after I got my PhD, but then I started auditioning for things, and I didn't expect to be on a TV show. That was not part of the plan at all.
So when they called you for Big Bang Theory?
No, I started going on any auditions that come down the pike. I have an amazing manager. She took me on when I was 8 months pregnant with my second son. She said, after you have your kid, let's have some fun. Let's see what we can do. Right. But no, I did I mean, I did a couple lines on Bones, a couple lines on Saving Grace. Like, it's not like doors open for you if you were Blossom. Like, I started from scratch. I auditioned for Big Bang Theory with a bunch of other very competent actresses, and I scored the part. I don't know how, just crazy. My life's weird.